its reach. It can't be another ship. Sir, it's like something I've never seen before, and it's closing in at a preposterous speed. Wait, this can't be. It's disappeared.
What's up? What's up? Welcome to the stream. It has been a while, but we're here. Let me know if my audio is too loud, too quiet, not available, all the things. Jeff is already in the chat saying, What's up? What's up, Jeff? How are you, man? The once Blackmagic Sony camera reviewer, now turned tech YouTuber sensation. Kofi says, guess I'm just watching live streams all day. I mean, it's fair. I think we're all streaming. I saw a whole bunch of people streaming, and I was like, why not? So I feel like it's been a while, and I feel like we got to catch up on some cameras. I've got the S1 Mark II that I'm streaming with right now using the new USB UVC mode, which is dope. I am always a fan of not having to use capture cards. And so having reliable autofocus and being able to plug straight into the USB while it gets powered, yes, please. I've got the LUMIX S1R Mark II back here, rigged up. It's a little bit farther away, but if you have questions about it, I will be more than happy to check it out. And then I just got this in the mail this past week, which is the lovely Sigma BF. So I've got human tracking all areas, so it's definitely not picking me up right now. It's back on my picture back there. Interesting. All right, come back. There we go. So yeah, if you have questions about either three of these cameras, let me know. Let's chat about it. But if you're just joining the stream, let me know where you're chatting from, where you're watching from. We'll get into some questions here in a little bit. I was trying to start the stream early simply because I know that YouTube takes a little while to warm up. But I forgot that I deleted the asset that's like stream starting soon. So here we are. We're just going straight in. So it's been a week, y'all. It's been crazy. We had the S1 Mark II launch yesterday. The S1 Mark IIe also launched. I did not take that camera home, so I didn't have a video posted about it. We had the new 24-60 f2.8, which I do have over there. So if you have questions about it, I can go over there and grab it and test it out and see if I can answer questions. And yes, and that's just LUMIX this past week. I feel like it was just yesterday that we did the S1R Mark II launch, to the point where like every time in my review when I was saying S1 Mark II, I was having to stop myself from saying S1R Mark II. So, and then on top of that, you've got Sigma. They're releasing all kinds of new things, and then you get the BF. It's a whirlwind, man. And that's just in the L mount. I mean, that's not even touching on Blackmagic, who's got their new Pixis coming out and all the good stuff. And it's a crazy time to be alive. Wesley says, hi, Ensign. Good evening. Wesley tuning in from Malaysia. What's up, Wesley? And of course, we got Chris Flores. What's up, Chris? You're going to have to tell me about your lens purchase. I saw your messaging come through. I was actually in Austin when your message came through about lens recommendations. And then like a day later, you messaged me like, I've already made a decision. I got these. So you'll have to let me know what you got, and what you're playing with. So yeah, so crazy week. A lot of cool cameras, a lot of cool things. You had the news last week that Sigma is officially raising some of their prices due to the fact of tariffs. So to help lessen the blow of tariffs, they will be raising their prices. I haven't got any word on what the price increase will be. I haven't got any word on like what percentage they're going up or anything like that. You can only wonder. I know Black Magic, they went up substantially after the Pixis announcement. I don't know if it's gone back down. But I think I said in my news video last week, it was literally like 24 hours later, we are NAB and they're like, oh, JK for the Americans out there, they're going to be charged an extra, was it close to $1,600? So it's pretty crazy. So we'll see. Chris says the Zeiss Classics 1.4 EF primes. They're so full of character. I love them. Absolutely. That's dope. I'm sure that was a nice little hefty budget kind of carving out there. So I know those aren't super cheap, but that's awesome. So yeah, a couple of cool things going on as far as with these drops. Of course, we've got the S1 Mark II, which is just a beast of a camera. Like for everything that Lumix has come out and gotten crap for over the last year, 2 years, whatever it's been since the S5 IIX. All the haters coming out and this is why I'm not getting the S5 II. Like I feel like the S1 Mark II just like was like, okay, cool, hold my beer. So Jeff says I may have to drive to Canada to pick up a Mavic 4 Pro. LOL. Absolutely, dude. Like it's crazy. It is absolutely nuts. Like I said to somebody, I'm like, this is a great time to be a social media influencer, to maybe get partnered with camera brands and be able to test or keep camera gear. And this is a great time to be that, have that scenario. So shameless plug for if you ever want to start a YouTube channel, this may be a reason. So because you too can try out gear and partner with brands and not have to pay tariffs. So it'll be interesting. We'll see. Proud to be Canadian. No tariffs, no drone gatekeeping. Wasn't there massive drone gatekeeping like 5 years ago? I feel like I watched an old Peter McKinnon video like 2 weeks ago where they were like basically cracking down on drone laws. But I will say, talking about drone stuff, apparently in America, there are some places where you don't need a Part 107 license anymore. Like I know our Department of Transportation was like, you don't need a permit to fly commercially or for the government. So for sure, you guys with the you guys get the Mavic for like $600 or $700 less than us now. It's crazy. That's insane. Because Canada for a while was getting them like it was more money in Canada. So, oh, what's up, man? How's it going? So yeah, tariffs are nuts. Should be a fun time. I'm hoping that it's a temporary time, but we'll see. Yeah, so S1 Mark II, if you guys haven't watched all the plethora of reviews out there, for anyone to, have the TLDR, so to speak, a couple of cool things that comes out with this camera is one, amazing USB UVC mode, which I don't know if it's groundbreaking, but I like it. Like I said earlier, anytime I can go without a capture card, I'm a fan. And also 6K open or 5.1 open gate, 5.1 open gate with a 48 or 60 frames per second option, which is killer. I was talking about this last night. We did a live stream on the LUMIX Discord, which I need to put that in the description. But the LUMIX Discord is something you can join if you're a LUMIX user, LUMIX enthusiast, and come chat, come hang. But we did a live stream on the Discord last night, and I was talking about, how I'm photographing and filming for a tattoo studio in the area. And having 6K or 5.1K open gate with high frame rates is way more beneficial than I thought I was going to. Like I remember I've had Matthew Dangu, we always talk about like he really wants that because he does a lot of open gate filming because that's kind of his business model. He does multiple deliverables. And so he's been trying to get LUMIX and begging LUMIX to do a high frame rate open gate for quite some time. And I've always been like, Matthew, that doesn't matter. Oh my God. And then I started filming with it with my last tattoo session that I was filming. And it was phenomenal having 60 frames per second where if I'm delivering in 1080 or like vertical content, I can just punch in, and with the 100mm macro uh, on my LUMIX S1 Mark II is butter, and I love it. I love it. And then talking about high frame rates, you do have 240 at 1080, 1080p, 4K, 120. You know, all the frame rates you may want, and all the crop you don't want, or all the not crop you don't want. It doesn't crop like it used to. So, uh, honestly, somebody asked me the other day, like, if you were doing an S1R Mark II versus an S1 Mark II, which would you get? And I'm like, well, if you want high frame rates, a faster sensor like S1 Mark II. If you want resolution and more pixels, then S1R Mark II. And like, there's probably more to it than that, but that was my oversimplified reason for going one over another. So we can't fly the MF anywhere, but we can buy them. That's fantastic. I think slowly America sometimes is getting up there as far as where we can fly, where we can't fly. So yeah, if you guys are just joining the stream again, let me know where you're streaming or where you're watching from. Come hang out, come ask questions. So we had the S1 Mark II release, and before that, and it was hard to finish the video because I got an email from my Sigma sales rep because I got, you know, with the whole news of like the tariffs and everything, I was like, hey, where am I at with my pre-order? Should I switch to the black version so I can maybe get it sooner? Because apparently those are a little bit are made at a faster pace than the silver models. But I was like, so should I switch to the black model so I can get it sooner so I don't have to, you know, pay the new pricing? He was like, well, just so happens that a vendor canceled their pre-order, and so we have one available to ship to you today. And I was like, sweet. So yeah, I got the silver version. There's a couple things I want to try out with this. I really should have picked just like one spot autofocus, but here we are. There's a couple things I want to try with it. Somebody actually put, and I meant to grab it before the stream started, but somebody actually put the S9 small rig grip on the BF, which doesn't make it look, it doesn't, you know, like a part of the reason you're buying the BF is because of how cool it looks. Like I took the BF out to dinner for whenever we had dinner for Mother's Day this past weekend. And I had two random people, like one, I think one was a hostess, one was a waitress. And they were like, that's a really cool camera. What kind of camera is that? And I was like, well, it's a Sigma BF. And it's just like, you know, I told my wife, I was like, that's why they made this camera. They want people to stop and be like, that's a cool camera. And then I had somebody at my co-working space that it was just sitting there. And he was like, dude, what camera is that? And I was like, it's a Sigma BF. So again, it's the biggest reason why that camera was made, is just to have conversation and to have that wow factor for the design and the construction. So he was like, it looks like it's one piece of aluminum. I was like, indeed it is. It is one solid piece of aluminum. So I feel like between these three cameras, we really have like like we have these workhorse, just beefed up like powerhouse cameras in the LUMIX S1R Mark II or the S1 Mark II. And then we have this beautiful, elegant BF. And it's a good time to be an L mount user. I just have to say that. So a good time to be a camera enthusiast in general. It is a conversation piece. Absolutely. I mean, is it worth a conversation piece for $2,000? Who maybe, maybe not. I mean, I was able to stomach the cost simply because, uh, I know I'm gonna cover it on my channel, and so for me, it's I can use it as a tax write-off because I'm using it for content. But it's yeah. Is it a $2,000, is it one that I would spend 2,000 if I had $2,000? Sure. Just like laying around for sure. But for me, it's more of a business expense. So, and I'm super upset about buying it for the business. Sarcasm. Um, I know this is a hot take, but I might be selling the FP for the new Lumix. Consideration in progress. Mm, okay. I'm down for this conversation because I might actually agree with you in some scenarios. I had somebody ask the question today on one of my videos. I need to actually go back and answer them. But they were asking, like, does it have similar micro contrast to the FP? Like, are you noticing that? And I actually would say it does. Like, I feel like it does capture the quality of the image. One thing that we talked about last night was the S5II, S5IIX, S9 sensors kind of all felt like they were sharpened after the fact. Like it's a digital sharp. It's a not necessarily digital sharp. It's more of like a algorithmic sharpness. That's a very large way of saying like just it's not organically sharp. Whereas I feel like with the S1R Mark II, it's got that organic sharpness. And I think the same thing with the S1 Mark II. And that's one thing I loved about the FP is it was sharp, but it didn't feel over digital. It didn't feel over like processed. That's the word I'm looking for. And my autofocus is struggling right now. Come back. There we go. I will say in the USB UVC mode, I kind of wonder if it's not phase detect. I wonder if it's contrast. I was noticing I had some issues with it last night as well. But that being said, I wouldn't blame you if you sold the FP for either one of these cameras. I think it is at the point where the image quality, I remember when Lumix introduced the new phase of Lumix with the phase detect autofocus. They were saying like, we're going to sacrifice some of this cinematic image, this image quality for this new autofocus because this seems to be the big selling point or the big kind of bone of contention with Panasonic cameras. And those of us that have shot Lumix for years kind of was not necessarily not put off by it, but it was you miss a lot of the cinematic image that you get out of the GH5, the GH5S, the S1H, and all these different things. And so it was a little bittersweet because you got the autofocus, but it came at that sacrifice of that, like sauce, so to speak, that people talk about with Lumix cameras. And I feel like the S1II and the S1R Mark II are both cameras that have kind of returned back to that sauce, so to speak, of an image. Great colors, very kind of natural. I've gotten away from using a ton of diffusion. I don't know the last time I use them. I still use it in my YouTube videos as far as the A-roll, just for aesthetic. But I used to be one of these people that like diffusion was on every shot. Like I had a black pro mist on every shot. And I've gotten away from that more and more lately, just because like I don't want everything to feel aged. I don't want everything to have the same look. And when I've been shooting with the S1R Mark II or the S1 Mark II, I still feel like it's not that like it's a nice, clean, modern image. But it doesn't look unorganic, if that makes sense. So all that to say, like, I don't think it's a super like I think it's a hot take if you're talking to the rest of the FB community. But you're safe in this place. And I would be inclined to say, like, especially if you use it for working projects, like it's a good camera. It's a great camera. Wesley says, have you compared L log to V log? Not directly side to side. I do like L log, how it the problem with Vlog is the fact that Vlog can be different on pretty much any Lumix camera. we were talking about this last night too, where like Lumix, whenever they come out with a new camera, they tweak the color science. And I think every camera does this. But they tweak the color science a little bit to where it's not always apples to apples when you go from one body to another. So Vlog in general, if I compare Vlog on one camera to another camera, it could be completely different. So take this with a grain of salt, but I found with Vlog, the skin tones are a little bit more magenta. I typically, there's a couple projects where I'll grade straight from Vlog, but for the most part, I'm doing some sort of log conversion. A couple of my videos, I've been doing Vlog to L-log actually, because I really do like the L-log. Here's what I like about L-log is the fact that I think it leans more into the greens. And I think that's what Vlog does with the S1 Mark II, but I've actually started converting it even to Log C3 because that is a new addition that will be coming to the S1II and S1R Mark II in the future is being able to unlock a code to get Log C3 in the full frame cameras. And so I've started just kind of going into that workflow of Log C3. So I've been doing that in the videos, but I think both Log and L-log both kind of lean into the greens, that more natural, naturistic color scheme. Whereas Vlog, it's a hit or miss. I'm not always the biggest fan of Vlog straight out of box. There's usually a lot of conversions for me for Vlog, but that's a little bit comparing L-log to Vlog, but I haven't done like a side by side. I will say that the catch about L-log, at least on the BF, is the fact that you got that 1250. Was it 1280? I think it's the base ISO is. Let me go over to video. Yeah, 1250. So that's the base for L-log, which is nuts. But I dig it. Put an ND on it. Here's the same with Vlog. You got to have 640. It's still pretty high. But that 1240, that 1250 is a bit high. I'm done buying cameras, bro. I'm moving back to my HV X200. Dude, honestly, this economy may make me not a camera enthusiast. So I said to someone, like, after buying the BF, I'm done buying cameras for a minute, unless it's on the used market. And so that is a great thing. I think the used market will thrive this year. Because you're not having to necessarily pay tariffs on the used products because they're already here. I don't know how this works, but anyways, and then also rental gear. Great time to rent cameras or cameras and camera gear. So I said in my video for the tariffs, it was so sad. I had such a moment of defeat, and I actually need to update the comments on that video. I said that I had my lens rentals code, and somebody tried it out, and they were like, "Hey, this is not working." And so I emailed Lens Rentals and I was like, hey, can you, because every once in a while, the way that Lens Rentals works is they go like 6-month increments. You have to like basically re-enlist every 6 months. So I emailed them. I was like, hey, can you refresh my code and make sure it's active still? And they were like, yeah, we've put a pause on the affiliate program. And I'm like, well, now I got to update my pinned comment on that. Because Anson Co 15 will indeed not work for lens rentals. But yes, going back to the HVX 200, 200. It's Panasonic, so it's still a cool club. It's Panasonic, so it's still in the cool club. Absolutely, yeah. The was that? Is it the dad cam? I think that's the dad cam. Yeah, it's still cool club. Come on in. All right, so I'm more into picking lenses that have the right characteristics than using filters. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I often get, the biggest thing. I love my Sigma lenses. I don't use, other than the 100 millimeter macro for my tattoo sessions, I don't really use anything other than Sigma glass. And somebody was talking to me the other day. I think it was a podcast I'm about to be on. and they were like, "Dude, what like you have a nice softness, you have a nice organic look, like a nice roll off. Like what lenses are you using?" I'm like, "These are all Sigma lenses. They're either Sigma Cine lenses or they're, Sigma Art Series lenses." And you just gotta know how to shoot with them to make them have a little bit of character. You know how to find their defectiveness, their little weaknesses, to get those characteristic shots. Especially with the f1.2s. Like this is the 35 1.2. One of my favorite lenses. That and the 50 1.2. Like that, just butter. Power says, "Yo, what's up? What's up? I just bought a Lumix S9. Do you think it's worth it for photography and videography?" Yeah, I mean, I like the Lumix S9. I think it's a solid camera. I think if you're looking for that like under $2,000 camera, maybe even under $1,500 camera with Lumix color science and all the features that's available, and you want something that's more compact, like I think it's a great camera. Lumix is very much behind the S9, and so when we start talking about like updates, they're going to probably roll out some updates for the S9, maybe before the S5II, S5IIX, because those are older cameras. And I feel like Lumix, the S9 is kind of similar to how Sigma saw the FP is like, this is that baby project that they're just, pampering for a little while. Because they believe in that camera. And so as far as on the consumer side, especially the full frame consumer side, I think the S9 is a great camera. Chris says, "Any tips on running manual focus on a gimbal? I've got a basic motor for my RS3 Pro, but anything I should be thinking about while moving and pulling focus?" Hire a focus puller. That's all I got. I'm kidding. Geez. I know typically, uh, if I'm using manual lenses in a gimbal, um, that kind of all depends on like where your range of motion is, like how much you're moving. I always will make sure that my end point is typically where I want my focus to be. And then I kind of work in reverse. Like instead of like, hey, I'm moving, I'm pushing in, and I want the focus point to be, my talent. But after the push in, like I'll push in, back up a little bit, and then reverse. It's a process. But as far as like a motor, I would invest in LiDAR. Like I would just go LiDAR at this point, especially the RS3 Pro. Like yeah, LiDAR. I would go LiDAR with it available and with it as like semi user friendly as it is right now, and as it's getting better, like it's just going to get better. I don't use LiDAR as much as I would like because I have the not the DJI one. There's another one, and I'm blanking on the name. But I have that system. And the only reason I don't use it as much as I should is because I need to calibrate my lenses, and I just sometimes it can be a pain in the ass to calibrate LiDAR systems. So that would be the only reason why I would even like look at the DJI. I mean, the PD Movie is actually a good system too. Like if you don't want the whole fixture, look into the PD Movie. Like it might be a little bit of a setup process, but it's still a good system. Cool. That's what I need to know. Almost like start at the end point and work backwards, right? Yeah, for sure. Tracking shots can be interesting because you have to think about how your distance and keep that same distance. But yeah, whenever I'm using like vintage lenses or even for that matter, like cinema lenses, I'm not a huge fan of focus motors. Like I've never been. And maybe it's because like the ones I've used are very finicky, like the Tilta Nucleus Nano. I love that system, but like it can be finicky, it can be weird. And so I've just never been a fan. For that matter, I'm not always a fan of gimbals, but sometimes they're necessary. And so whenever I am using a gimbal and a focus mode or a manual lens, I'll typically I'll either lock off and orbit because you're at that same focus plane, or potentially, if you're tracking, just get that focus, just make sure that distance stays the way it is, or stays at the um, the length that it is, or the space that it is. And then same with follow tracking, and push in, pull out shots. Pull out would be a little bit. I mean, you would almost at that point, yeah. You could do either. That would be a little bit harder than the push in, because that one you end at that destination, but you would want to start at the destination and go back. That may require a little bit more finessing. Power says it's been like 5 or 6 months with the camera. I'm loving it, but there in my country, it's really rare to find L mount lenses. Ooh, kind of a pain in the A for sure. Yeah, I could see that. What lenses have you been able to pick up for it? And what were you using before? Were you using like Sony? Was that a little bit easier to get to? What's the lens situation you're working with? Chris says, I'm filming graduation tomorrow, and I want to shoot it all Red Komodo, one handheld and one on the gimbal, but honestly, the FX3 makes more sense. I gotta push myself to try Red on gimbal. That's the hard part about. I hate having multiple cameras. Like sometimes having multiple cameras is a pain, because especially if like the cameras that you have one that you just want to use for everything because maybe the image is fantastic. But in reality, you should use autofocus. It's the same thing for me with like my cinema lenses. And my autofocus lenses. Like I have these really nice cinema lenses and I want to use them for everything, but there are just times they're not practical. And so I end up using my autofocus lenses. I think I'm forcing myself. I have a testimonial. No, it's a brand story video on Friday that I'm filming. And I'm making myself use my cinema lenses for that one. And I'm justifying it by the fact that those cinema lenses do have better color accuracy as far as like the quality control around color accuracy. And so if I'm using the S1 Mark II as the A cam and the S1R Mark II as the B cam, while those are a little bit different color science and vlog, as we said before, then at least my lenses will be somewhat similar. So it's not just like all over the place. So I maybe to predict the difference in color and consistency there. So good luck on the graduation, but I would definitely say FX3. As someone that's been my bread and butter for the past like 2 months, is just live events. Having autofocus is just almost required for that kind of scenario. Like we had a meet in the street. We had a couple of meet in the street-esque events. And yeah, if I didn't have autofocus, like I'd be lost. And I was even for one of them, I was on the tripod the whole time, which was good for that project because you just had ultra steadiness. But then the second one, I went handheld a little bit more because I wanted different angles and things like that. So yeah, autofocus, I would go autofocus for sure. Yeah, for real. Once LUMIX drops the S1H Mark II with the balance of IQ, ease of life, for sure, I'll jump back to LUMIX and keep the Komodo super specialized. I mean, the S1II, in my opinion, is the S1H Mark II. I don't think we're getting the S1H Mark II in the body of a mirrorless. I think my speculation is that this replaces the S1H, even though it doesn't have an OLPF. And then I think LUMIX, I know nothing. Let's clarify. I know nothing. But my speculation is that the S1H is now going to be a box camera or some type of cinema camera. Just like I have this feeling that this is the direction they're going. This is too similar to the S1H line as far as specs around video and things like that. I think that this is probably your S1H Mark II, and then the actual S1H Mark II is just going to be a cinema camera, and they're probably going to be an H at that point. It'll probably be something like different. I have the 18 to 40 kit lens L mount for Lumix. Sony is very common. Sometimes I regret buying the S9 because not enough lens choices here in my country. 18 to 40 is a stellar lens. Kudos for snagging that one. Yeah, what country, if you don't mind asking, I think you might have said it before, but remind me what country. That is the hard part. Is Sony is very common all over the place. And so yeah, that could be a challenge. But I'd say like hang out with it for a bit. Maybe at some point you'll get more L mount lenses or more access to L mount lenses as they get more common. Hopefully, Nepal, gotcha. Yeah, hopefully. And I don't know. I know for the United States, like we can buy, from various uh importing countries and get that. I don't know if that's, you might pay a little bit more, and that kind of sucks. And for that, I feel you on that one. I don't know if that would be hard to stomach a system that you have to pay like extra just to be in the system. But check the used market, see if there's anything that maybe other people also got frustrated with this dilemma, and may have some stuff on the used market. Mighty Miggy, what's up? You are making your rounds, man. Like you got the stream last night. You got the all the. My daughter is calling me. Hold tight. Yes, you can. We give her a timer to let her fall asleep, and she gets to have her iPad or what have you during that time. So this was can I reset the timer? I'm not falling asleep yet. So, Mighty Mickey, what's up? I want cinema camera. I want a cinema cam Lumix, and then I'll pick up the S1II for B cam for sure. I just want to see what potential cam can like first before jumping back, since I got the FX3 just because of autofocus. Yeah, I mean, I do think that everybody that's been waiting, Lumix has been in a place, right? They've been in a place where for years, for people that wanted autofocus, had left the system because of the lack of autofocus. And now that they've got autofocus, maybe there were some other things that people weren't really bought into to come back. And you know, it's a weird place, but I do feel like with the S1R Mark II, with the S1II, they're definitely in a, that they're finding their stride type position. I feel like the the S5 Mark II, the S5 II and S5 IIX were kind of that entry point of like, okay, let's get this new phase. It's a marketing thing, but new phase ongoing, and then we'll see where we can go. And using maybe a little bit older of a sensor, to bring in the autofocus era, as we call it, but a little bit older sensor, also with the S9. This is the first time with this new phase where we're getting a brand new to Lumix sensor, both on the S1II and S1R Mark II. Where, and I said this to like the guys that I was hanging out with in Austin, I genuinely feel like this is a mature Lumix with phase detect. I feel like now these are cameras that like, okay, like there's like I said at the beginning of the stream, there's the sauce again. There's what we were looking for as a balance between image quality and autofocus. And so I'm really excited about these two cameras. Really excited about the S1II. And for everything that it's worth, I'm very fortunate to have both these cameras in the studio. And so, I'm loving playing with both of them. And we were talking about last night, like at this point, like between these two cameras, it's splitting hairs, and it's, which one should you get? Like, it's a really hard decision actually. And I think for me, it comes down to like, if you're a filmmaker, videographer first, and you maybe do some photo, S1II, And if you're a photographer first and maybe do some video, S1R Mark II, that's kind of like the classic situation with video focus cameras versus photo focus cameras. But yeah, I feel like we're in a good position. Maybe try EF adaptive signal lenses for a while. They hold fine with AF in my experience. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, maybe some older lenses that are adapted. That's a good point. If you're not able to find L mount glass, like look at older EF glass that you can adapt and snag like a Sigma. I think it's the MC21, but you have to be careful because that code is either old Sony, like their old alpha mount. I don't remember what came before E mount. But it's either a old Sony mount or a EF. I don't know why they share the same code, but just make sure it's the EF one. Dude, I just get lucky, to be honest. That's funny. My frustration is everyone shoots Sony. I feel forced to use Sony and take on jobs or shooters. If that wasn't the case, Lumix all day long. And that is the hard part, right? Like, I was talking with a friend of mine and I don't know if it's the F mount. It might be. Sorry, got distracted there. The two brands that are like, if you're getting hired as a brand at this point, like the two brands are either RE or Sony. And unfortunately that's the case. Like I'm talking to someone about doing an editing gig. And I was like, what camera do you use? And I was like, please Lumix. And he's, of course it's not Lumix. It's Sony. And like everybody shoots Sony. And so I'm hoping that as these two cameras hit the market and people see what they can do, that it will become more a little bit easier to shoot Lumix. But dude, I mean, going full-time freelance in the past like couple months, like I get the person that like one, some people may outright like hire you based on what brand you shoot with, but then also perception piece. Like I took my Lumix rigged up on one of my first projects. I'm like, there is no need for this, but the perception's real. I can tell you that the fear is Lumix comes up and people change hands and then they go back in the hole. Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah. Well, one, I'm on the fence on switching systems, right? Like there's a lot to be said about the system that you know and that you're proficient with and that you know its ins and outs, its quirks, its upsides, downsides, everything. It's good to know that system. But I think Chris, I think your situation is like it genuinely was not, and I've seen this from other people too, like uh I can't remember Lumix Gang, the guy that did Lumix Gang for a while. He's actually based out of North Carolina, but he switched to Nikon because like literally the projects he was getting hired for, it required those types of cameras and Lumix just didn't offer that. And I think there is a lot of things that Lumix doesn't offer some people. And for that, like they may lose the market share to Canon, to Nikon, to Sony. Big Cook. That's what that's right. Which we should all check on Big Cook to see if he's okay. Cause I think this camera was what he wanted. But it's, it's going to be hard to not, see the fact that like if a project calls for it, you've got to make the right decision for your company. So Chris, if Red made sense for you, if Sony made sense for you for autofocus, whatever it meant, like whatever it was, like obviously you made that business decision for a reason. And I think it is hard to encourage people to switch to one system or another, especially if they found a workflow. And at the end of the day, these are tools to help us make money, whether it's money online as an influencer or money as a freelance videographer, as a business. I don't know why my daughter's calling me again. But at the end of the day, like, it's got to make sense for us financially. So hold, please. Hello. Yes, I am. What's up? What is it? Sorry. Hey, babe. Can you call your mom? Okay, love you. Bye. So sorry about that. It's go with the brand that makes sense for you, makes you money, the thing that you know that you can just turn it around. So unfortunately, Sony does have that market share, and so again, I'm about to potentially go into this project where I'm going to be filming S-Log, and we'll see how that goes. Rat bro, what is this? My family is all texting me. Nigel and Instant streams both in one day. Actually, it's funny. I saw Nigel stream this afternoon. I was like, you know what? That sounds fun. Let's do this. It was awesome to meet Nigel at NAB because fun fact, I don't think Nigel has streamed before we saw him at NAB. He's like, I've never gone live. And I'm like, bro, you got to. You're missing out. And so if you enjoyed Nigel's stream, you're welcome. We coaxed Nigel into now live streaming. So it's a great time. It really is. And I love that YouTube is like a bunch of people doing streams. I love streams. I think they're a great time to just visit with everyone and talk and chat. So there was also a Terry stream. Damn, was Terry's yesterday or is that today? I feel, yeah, I think now that you say that, I think it might have been today. I think even Cam went live today. So it was a busy day. Sony is the new Red. Yeah, I mean, honestly, kinda. It was because in the freelance world or in the production world, yeah, I mean, like Red. Yeah, now it's gotten to a point where I have a couple buddies that actually have Reds, and they're like, I think I might buy a Sony, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry, but you got to do what you got to do. When the budget is 300, I rig up my iPhone. I mean, fair. My obsession with detail doesn't allow me to do that, but I can respect that. I can respect that hustle. Yeah, Big Cook. I think he'll fine. Oh, really long. Oh my god. But I think he'll be fine. Luckily, it's not an area or to Venice for sure. Yeah, I think I Big Cook. Somebody should check on him. Yes, my daughter. It's funny. I actually had this set up earlier, and every once in a while, so she's 7, and she'll come in and be like, "Can we make a video?" I swear, she's gonna have her own social media when the time comes and it's appropriate, and she's gonna just rock the influencer lifestyle. Hopefully not the negative side of influencer lifestyle. I hope that for her, but she goes ham on the camera. Like she was reading a book and just going, and I had the S1 Mark II, just like all this lighting and everything, and just recorded it at my computer. And I was like, okay, we're going to put this on the, back in the, repository of all of the things that we just look back on. And when you're 20 years old, and I cry because times change. Sorry, I got super mental there. Super sentimental. There was a Terry stream. He was on today, so was Cam, but I missed that one. Yeah, I saw a couple of them. I need to go watch other people's streams. I pop in, kind of like some like they'll pop in and say hey. I'll pop in and say hey usually. The JPEG HDR gain map is interesting since almost all photos are shared digitally. Yeah, it is very, very, very interesting. Wesley, you got the BF, right? how are you liking everything there? Or actually, did yours come in? I can't remember. I feel like you may have posted with like a one you borrowed or something like that. I think I'm going to feel bad for him because it's community meme now. It really is. And like when I saw that podcast from Matthew where he talks about leaving and going to Nikon, I was like, wait. I literally just watched a video of yours where you're uh addressing the haters of the S9, like, oh my God. So it's interesting. Available default on the BF. Okay, so full disclosure, like, so I got my BF in and I turned a couple of the things on, but like, it's weird. I'm in this place where like, I don't know if it's that film camera mentality where you just want to be strategic about what you photograph or film. I've gotten like 5 photos so far on this camera. And part of that was I was making the S1II review, and all of that. But like I had that like decision paralysis for a minute of like, what do I want the first photo to be? What do I want to, like, what do I want to take a photo of? And that's so dumb. It's a digital camera. I can do whatever I want. But I actually chose my daughter to take a picture of me and my wife as our first photo. So uh I would like to say that's going to stay that way and like stay on there, but let's be real, I'm probably going to format the card here in a little bit, or the internal SSD, and it's not going to be the first one on the roll. But it's weird. It does remind me of kind of like a film camera mentality of like, and maybe it's counterintuitive to what Sigma actually wants, like, as far as capturing every moment, but it's just a little special camera. You want to capture those special moments, and let's just like, I take it with me everywhere, but I'm like, I don't want to necessarily like take a picture of something random. I want, it's weird. And I don't know if I'm alone in that. Maybe it's just my own weirdness about that camera, but the camera is so special. I just don't want to like be like, oh, hey, here's a random thing on the street. I don't know. I need to take it out this weekend. I might take it out this weekend to do some street photography. But that being said, I also complete side note. I have a Sigma. It's the SA1. I think it's their second generation film camera. That was made back Macs, Apple computers. But made back in the 70s. And I have a black and white film stock in there right now. And I've been meaning for so long to do street photography with that setup. Maybe I need to take that out this weekend. But the BF is so much tempting me to take it out and shoot because it looks super cool. Yes, but my unit hasn't arrived. I'm still using the Sigma from Sigma Malaysia, or still using the one from Sigma Malaysia. Now, did you order the silver or did you order the black? Because I feel like I want to say in the Facebook groups you might have been using the black one. Which one did you order? The BF motivates you to photograph something. The feeling, I can't really put it in words. It sparks joy. It really does. Like, it's just a really cool camera. And like, it has its quirks, just like any other Sigma camera, just like any other camera. I really like, my one thing right now is I really need them to let me use grids and frame markers. Just, that's my one thing, because I'm that weirdo that uses grids and frame markers when I go to film something. And you have to choose which one you want to use in the BF. That's like the only thing immediately that I'm like, please give us that ability. What I've been looking into, super old lenses. I have the Helios Batman lens, and OMG, hell yeah, I love that lens. I love it, and I want to check out before lens. And I want to check out before lens. Before lens, I found a B4 to L mount adapter. What is the B4? It's $260 though. I am unaware. Let me know. But no, the Helios is amazing. The Helios will probably go down as just a classic lens at this point. Like, so many people have been using it, and it's just fantastic. So Wesley, silver, yes, team silver for sure. And I'm one of those people that, like, I wear black every day, nothing but black jeans, black t-shirt, and I had to get the silver. I say that as I wear a gray shirt. I wore it for the stream for sure because of the BF. Cool, Dustin. Thanks for that. I hope you're using bidet. I am an advocate for bidets. I think it helps with. I'm just gonna stop. But yes, I hope you're using bidet. I am Hassan. Evening, everyone. What's up? What's up? Dustin Armstrong, TMI. Shh. Red, and people used to match the GH4 to reds all the time. I mean, fair enough. B4 mount lens are TV lens. Oh, you know what? Now that you say that, I feel like I remember those lenses. I remember I went on a vintage lens like rampage for a while and saw a bunch of different older mounts. I don't know what I was struggling with there. By the way, it's also great that DP Review explain why auto ISO is not below ISO 400. Now we know. Wait, what happened with ISO 400? Oh, will not go below ISO 400. I feel like we covered this, but remind me of why do we know? Was it because of the grain pattern or what? Oh, the dynamic. Oh, yeah. HDR. Got it. I follow. The people used to match GH4 with reds all the time. We got that one. 100% bidet is life. Bidet is life. One day I'm going to make a video of why everyone should own a bidet. I have a bidet in every single one of my bathrooms. It is the best thing ever. It sucks because I go to co-working space every day, and obviously they don't have bidets there. And I'm just like I'm sad all the time, and I get home and I just make sure everything is good, and like bidet is life. Bidet is life. Just remember back to front. Oh geez, there are some times it's right there. It should it's a lot. You should make a short film about the bidet, dude. Okay, next time I'm for this. Let's talk. I'm into this. I saw one for $50 on Facebook, but I had to ship it, so not willing to risk it. That's fair. What are some older lenses that I really liked? Because I never really went far beyond the Soviets and then the FDs. So like your Helios, your Mirror 1, your what's the other really big 85 millimeter Jupiter 9. So those are all like, that's what iron glass converts into a cinema lens or rehouses. So I never got far beyond that. But I did between that and the FDs. But there were a couple in there. Like, now that I've gotten into a couple of the film cameras, I have an older, I think it's a Pentax lens. I'm not sure. It might actually be a Sigma lens. I don't know what it came with. But it's an old K-mount lens. I think it's like some sort of zoom range. You can clearly see I've never used it. But then I also have a Pentax 50 millimeter on my Sigma SA right now, SA1 right now. Dustin is tempting. Hassan says, what do you think about the new 24-60? I like it. I think there were a couple of clips in my video on the S1 Mark II where I used that lens. I didn't use it a ton. I'm never going to be excited about 24 to 70 f2.8. Like, and I know it's not 70. I'm just saying like that type of lens. Like my Sigma 24 to 70, I see it a lot as a necessary lens, but I don't get excited about it. Same thing with the 24 to 60. I just don't get excited about it. In Austin, I took my Sigma 35 and 50 f1.2 lenses, and that's what I used most of the time. And I really haven't shot with a 24 to 60 after getting back from Austin. But I do like the size. I think it offers, I don't know, Dustin was talking about while we were there, like the Pro 24 to 70 from Lumix has that like 3D pop. And this doesn't really have that, but it does give you that consistent f2.8. Obviously 24 to 60 is super, super handy, especially if you're using hybrid zoom. And so I think it's a solid lens. I never get super excited about 24 to 70 or anything similar to that kind of range. So I can't say like, oh my God, it's the best lens ever. I think if you want a compact kind of 24 to like a mid telephoto, like it's a solid lens. And definitely worth looking into, especially because it does come. I think for, maybe as I have a little bit of time between the launch of the S1II and able to actually play around with it more, I think I'll do a review of it maybe in a couple weeks. And I think when I start shooting with it more, I'll love it more, because for a, was it $900 lens? And I don't think that Lumix is doing anything with tariffs right now. I haven't heard anything about it. So hopefully legitimately $900 lens, or you may not even have, might not have that as an issue. I always assume people are in the States, but that's not always the case. But I think for that price point, it's a solid performer. I didn't notice a ton of like the flaws that you may see with those lenses, with lenses at that price point. But I think it's definitely a solid option. So solid lens. We'll probably see it here in the next couple of weeks on the channel. And then Dustin's probably used it a little bit more than I have. So definitely Dustin, chime in if you would like. Rhett, the cheaper the lens is, the better it looks. That's sometimes very true. Sometimes, depending on the brand, not so much. But but if it's an older, cheaper lens, it probably does have a killer look to it. $25 CCTV lens gang for sure. I used to have a CCTV lens. Those are super dope, and most likely you'll have a ton of character to them. When you making the Sony about that Sony camcorder. I'm always traveling with the Sigma 18 to 35. God, that is such a good lens. Such a good lens. Even on full frame, like it's such a good lens because you can really, like, you may have a little bit of vignetting, but you can cover the 24 to 35 range. Such a good lens. I love the flaring on that lens too. I think that was one of Sigma's best flaring lenses that they've made over the years. So yeah, love that lens. Sigma 45mm f2.8, 65mm f2 are probably the most underrated lenses on the market. I will say I have the 45 on the BF, and I will agree with you 1,000%. Savage Filmmaker, that's who I was talking to. I forget his real name right now, but we were talking about, because he just bought the FP to test out. And he was asking me what lenses to pair with it. And that's what I was talking about. I use primarily Sigma lenses. But I told him, I was like, yo, don't sleep on the 45mm. It has a really nice soft look to it. It's not super sharp. But if that, like, especially for someone that's like shooting on the S1 Mark II, the S1R Mark II, which are sharp sensors, like the 45, man, whew, sleeper. You hit a button on that one. But I do love that 65 too. I had that one for a little while and I sold it because I didn't feel like I was using it. Ironically enough, I would use my 24 to 70 more, even though I just said I'm not excited about 24 to 70. But the 65 is killer. Dustin made a video about it, and I really like the look of it. But I still am on the fence. Oh yeah, he did. About the 24 to 60. if they had made the 20-60 f2.8, it would have been a knockout, but I can get with 2460. I already pre-ordered it. Fair. If they made a 20-60, but a knockout, but I can get with a 2460. I was like, oh, I should pre-order it. I have that in my studio. But yes, killer lens. I think it's definitely the sleeper of the two launches from yesterday. How's everyone feel about the E? I haven't asked many people about the E, and I didn't make a video about it. So let me know what you guys think about the E. Oh yeah, the Sigma 10-18 is able to cover a full frame sensor from 14 to 18. Yeah, I owned that for like 2 weeks. I was like, I want a wide angle lens, and I ended up selling it. You can turn the DC crop on the BF and use it at full frame mode. Turn off the DC crop on the BF. Yeah, I love that lens. And I think that was one I did use on the BF when I was testing the BF originally. But yeah, you can get damn near full frame coverage quite a bit on that lens. And it was with the 14-18. Yeah. And I was like, that makes sense because what was the full frame variation of that? And this is 16-28. So like a lot of times when Sigma makes these crop sensor lenses, and they also make a full frame variation of said lens, a lot of times those crop sensor lenses can actually cover a full frame. They're just maybe not like optimized for it. You may see some like edge distortion a little bit, especially like 18-35. I feel like there's something happening with those edges. You can technically get that 24-35 range, but it's not like you're shooting with a 24-35 full frame lens. It's got just that little bit of quirkiness to it. I'm down. Wish I could do that on the FPL. Can you should be able to do that on the FPL. Can you? The DC crop? You should be able to turn off the DC crop. Let me know if that's what you're talking about, because I'm pretty sure you can. Our brother from down under, I saw his video from Blackmagic OG, and I was like, no way am I going to watch a 35-minute video. I watched the whole video. Same. I actually had the same exact reaction. I was like, dude, I can't. I see long videos and I'm like, I can't do this. But no, I watched the whole damn thing. And I was actually in the video because he was like, I might look at the FP and you should check out Anson if you have questions about the FP. I was like, oh, hey, what's up, man? So yeah. No, we don't. Oh, that's right. Because the DC, because it's not DC on, DC off. That because on the FPL, it's like cropping in. It's not the DC kind of the crop in on the sensor, because you don't have that easy switch. I know in the FP you do because you have the DC on, DC off. But with the FPL, it's slightly weirder. I remember that. I had the FPL for a solid like 6 months to a year, and I do remember that. It's not the same workflow, so to speak. Can you not, if you're using a DC lens, does it automatically detect and doesn't let you go out, like zoom to 1, like the 1x? Because I know like that's the non-DC, and then you can go in from there. Interesting. If that's the case, like that's one thing that in my entire time of using the FPL, I didn't notice. They should have called it the S1RII. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They should have. I think there's enough there in the specs to justify. I think it's the same sensor as the S1II, S1II X, and the S9, but you do have a lot of the same specs. So I see like what they're doing there. You can't really take the S1II X and be like S1II X. I guess you could probably say like S1II X Pro, because that could have been a route they went, but I see where they went with the S1II. That dude was so good, right? Right? I'm gonna assume you meant good there, but it was so good, so good. And there wasn't like the footage wasn't necessarily jaw dropping or anything, but like I was into it. Like I was super into it. I can't recall what the what all the content on the video was, but I was super into it. Can't turn off the DC crop on FPL when DC lens is attached to it. Very interesting. Again, that whole time that I was using the FPL, I never noticed that. Interesting. Huh. I wonder what Lumix will do with the S1II now that they have said the S1II is sort of upgrade to that. Ideas? I think you're gonna see, again, I know nothing officially. I think you're gonna see I can see how potentially the upgrade they did in the fall to level set all the cameras. I think that was them kind of saying, okay, we're about to get into this second generation of face detect cameras. Uh, Maybe that means that there's not going to be as much updates for the 2 and 2X. But at the same time, like Lumix, we said this also last night, like Lumix is well known for upgrading their cameras or having updates for their cameras, even for older cameras. Like for a long time, the S1, like the original S1, got a ton of updates. What was it, like 2 years ago? Maybe a year ago? Some relatively recent. They did a giant update for the S1 where like you could do 6K recording and all these different things. Lumix has a decent track record of supporting the older cameras, but I don't think that they're going to take the S5IIX and maybe put more in the marketing for that camera versus the S1 Mark IIe. Because I do see that being okay. If you want, maybe if you already have a 2X and you want a little bit of upgrade, go with the 2E or the S1II. But as far as updates, I think they'll still continue to support that first generation of face detect full frame cameras, probably for a while. What makes it different is the chipset internally. Oh, you're talking about the S1II. Yeah, good. He just knows how to pull you in the story hidden in the review. He does such a good job at this. Like his videos, he also has that like I also like his videos because he much like me, I don't put pro wrestling in my videos as much as he does. If at all, but he's a huge from what I've seen, he's a huge pro wrestling fan, and so like he'll make these pro wrestling references, and I'm like, you got me, dude. But then he's also got that like mixture of humor and story. It's just so his videos are so good. And so when he reached out to me on Instagram, was like, hey, I bought the FP, like what should I do? Or what I was like, bless. We get to chat. I think they add on MP4 Lite, like adding 4K 60, 100, or 120. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't have MP4 Lite yet. I can see them doing a little bit more. I am super curious if they're going to eventually unlock RA-Log C3 for those cameras. I don't know if it will. Like it's weird. I see the GH7 in that same like first generation of phase detect, but I feel like the GH7 is the best B cam scenario if you are getting one of the full frame cameras and one a solid B cam. Like I feel like the GH7 is that, especially with RA-Log C3. So it's kind of like that in between. But I do see them adding some of those things. Maybe I don't think we'll get an open gate high frame rate option, but I think there's definitely going to be things that they put into some of the older cameras. So, dude, this has been a good stream. I told my wife I'd be done at 10. We always like to go watch our TV on Wednesdays. We have a couple of TV shows we go through. One is The Rookie, which is classic cop show. But fun fact, they use LUMIX BGH1s in that production as car cams that mix in with RE cameras. LUMIX still. Oh God, what did I go back? Watching your stories. Oh, we're definitely watching our stories. You guys should watch One Piece. One Piece. I've heard of this. No, right now we're going through White Lotus. We're on the 3rd season. We just started the third season. No spoilers. We're on White Lotus. God, we've got a lot of shows right now. We're on White Lotus. Last of Us Part 2 or Season 2 came out, which I'm on the fence of how I feel about that one right now. Then we have The Rookie, which is the show that we watch on a weekly basis, as well as there are cop shows, because the other one is Will Trent. Amazing show. But The Rookie used BGH1s as car cams. I need to check out One Piece. I've heard about this on several occasions. If you like a story, One Piece will be the best story you've ever seen. Oh, okay, I'm writing that down. What is it available on? Oh, One Piece. I've had a couple people recommend this to me, so I'll have to check it out. Sea and The Expanse are great series. Ooh, okay, I'm making a list. Is that 2? It is 2, isn't it? No. Yes. The Expanse. Now we're just going through show recommendations at this point. Hands down. Netflix. Sweet. Oh, yeah, okay, got it. What other show are we watching on Netflix? We were watching something on Netflix. Well, what was it? Oh, God. There's another series. Anyways, I'm sidetracked. Okay, Netflix. C is Apple TV. Yes, I was thinking about that one. We need to get into we need to finish Severance. We haven't finished that. We started it and then we canceled Apple TV for a bit. Also, man, you guys are coming through with these suggestions. Silo on Apple TV. Expanse is Amazon. Okay. Ants and Rhett. What's up? Amazon. Okay, we do Amazon. The only one we don't do frequently is Apple TV, which we should. It has great shows. Let me tell you that it is 25 years old. What? Really? And the story starts off slow, but as you go, it really foreshadows heavily. Pose you into definitely slow. Pose you in. It's definitely a slow show, but 100% worth it. I'm down with it. Let me go put that one on. The Shield is the best. Oh, I've never watched The Shield. I need to watch The Shield. God, there are so many shows. Silo is great. And then Rhett says Hulu. Hell yeah. Watch Walton Goggins becomes the greatest actor ever slowly. Dude, that's amazing. C and Silo are different from a lot of shows. Not the usual doctor police dramas. Fair enough. Oh, I see what you're saying. Pulls you in. Well, on that note, I'm gonna go watch some TV. I'm gonna go say, hey, babe, we now have a plethora of shows to work through. So I'm gonna go spend time with my wife. You guys have been awesome. If you are watching this after the fact, if you have questions about any of these cameras, apparently the FPL cannot turn DC off, which didn't know before now. Crazy. But thank you guys all for joining. And I'm going to go. You guys keep chatting. Hang out and chat. Shield's my favorite show. Happy watching. Yes. Start the piece. When you can, I will. I'll tell you about it sometime. You guys are awesome. You guys have a good night. Peace.